The PlayStation Store is running its excellent Big in Japan sale right now. A lot of great deals available, but I think whenever you talk about the Japan sales, a lot of the attention is on the JRPGs, so I do want to go over 10 of those that I think are great deals right now. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, I have a pair of Tales of titles that I would like to recommend. Tales of Berseria is on sale. It's 50% off for $9.99. This is really good. A lot of people actually consider this to be the best Tales of title. I don't think I would go that far. It is really good. I think the best part about it is you have a very compelling main character. Velvet isn't like a lot of other JRPG main characters. A little bit more on the darker side, and definitely the character growth of her throughout the course of the game is one of the best elements of the game. And you also have a lot of other great characters. That great gameplay, visual style, all of that is still present in Tales of Berseria, but I do think the lead in Velvet is what makes a lot of people really enjoy the game, and the story is very good as well. For $9.99, I think it's a great pickup, so be on the lookout for that. Also, Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition is on sale, $12.49. This is the Tales of game that I am more so partial towards, maybe because I picked this one up when it initially came out, day one on the Xbox 360, and I ended up really digging it, and this was one of my favorite games growing up, and I had a fantastic time with it. The Definitive Edition adds some additional content, voiceovers, all that good stuff. It's a really good enhanced version, $12.49 for this one. I think Tales of Vesperia is great in the sense of this is another one with a great cast of characters from the main character and a couple of the other side characters. They interact very well, and I wouldn't say the story is anything to write home about. It's a fine Save the World JRPG storyline. But character interaction I thought was great. A ton of content in this one. If you want to do everything, it's going to take you quite a bit of time, and for $12.49, if you're talking about bang for your buck, it's one of the best options you can pick up right now. Next up, Kingdom Hearts All-in-One Package, $24.99. Now, my opinions on the Kingdom Hearts franchise is a little bit mixed. I was a big fan of Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 1, in my opinion, hasn't aged all the best, but still a relatively decent game. Then you have Birth by Sleep, which I think is quite good, and the story at times is very engaging, and you get really into it, you get into the characters. Kingdom Hearts 3, I mean, I think a lot of people were a little bit, I think a lot of people think that Kingdom Hearts 3's narrative is a little bit questionable, and just the story of Kingdom Hearts has kind of gone off the deep end. It's still interesting at times, but man, I have no idea where they're gonna go with Kingdom Hearts, and I really don't know if it's salvageable at this stage of the game. Now, this is a franchise that a lot of people are nostalgic with. If you like the Disney characters, obviously, you'll like that element of the game. And there's a lot to like. I think the gameplay in Kingdom Hearts is excellent. It's just the story at times. Sometimes it's excellent, and sometimes it'll just have you scratching your head a little bit. But for $25 for all the content you're getting, I think it is pretty good, and I would give it a look based on the price alone. Because again, with this, you get 1.5, 2.5, 2.8 with Dream Drop Distance, and you get Kingdom Hearts 3. That's a ton of content for your money, and again, bang for your buck wise. Pretty good pickup. Next up, we have 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, a game done by Vanillaware. This came out last year, and it kind of got a little bit of buzz from the people that played it. I think everybody that played it ended up really enjoying it. I had a few friends hit me up telling me how much they enjoyed it. None of them picked it up day one. However, this is one that isn't your typical Vanillaware title. Yes, it does employ that same art style that is very, I think captivating to a lot of people, but it does have a bigger emphasis on some of the other elements. The gameplay is very much not your Vanillaware type gameplay, but characters have quite a bit of depth to it, and the story has a lot of depth to it as well. For $30, it's still a little bit pricey, but this is a title that I could see holding up in price for quite a while just based on other Vanillaware titles, and we'll cover one in a little bit. But yeah, they typically retain their price quite a while. However, this is just, 6 months old at this point, and it's already down 50% off. I just don't see it getting a lot cheaper than this, but we'll see how things turn out. Dragon's Crown is pretty cheap these days. But if you're just talking about, is it worth it? Yeah, I think 13 Sentinels is worth $30. Next up, Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom is 84% off for $9.59. One of the low-key great deals of this sale. You could say a lot about Ni no Kuni 2. I think the majority of people agree that it's not quite as good as Ni no Kuni 1. Maybe it's because the brilliance of Ni no Kuni 1, and just because it was a brand new IP just kind of outshines this a little bit. Ni no Kuni 2 still has a lot to like, has that great art style that I think a lot of people dug in Ni no Kuni 1, and the story's pretty good. Relatively charming JRPG as well. If you're looking for one that you know, is a pretty good gateway JRPG. I think this is a good one. This, alongside like Valkyria Chronicles, are the gateway JRPGs I really go to outside of like Final Fantasy and things of that nature. And $9.59 for it, I think, is the perfect price. Maybe that initial $60 price point was a little high, but at south of $10, you really can't go wrong with this one. Next up, Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus, 80% off for $12. This is one that I talked about quite a bit, and the general consensus of the general talk that a lot of people put forth is that this is very much like Persona, and if you want a game like Persona, check out Tokyo Xanadu. However, I think giving that nugget of information is a little bit misleading, just because at that point maybe the person buying the game will think this is at the quality level of Persona, and that leads to very high expectations. Look, Persona, the franchise, all of those games are elite level JRPGs. Is Tokyo Xanadu at an elite level? No, but it's a competent enough JRPG with charming character interactions, solid gameplay. It's just not blow away. Like, in my opinion, Persona is a blow away franchise. Not every game is going to be at that level, but a lesser Persona, is that really a bad thing? No, it's still a very good thing, and for $12, I think this is a pretty good pickup. I haven't seen it lower than $12 since the MSRP on PSN is still $60, so $12 is relatively decent. I think on PC it's been a little bit cheaper. But yeah, at this price, I think it's pretty good. Next up, Odin Sphere Leifthrasir is down 70%. It's down to $18. So this one came out all the way back in 2017. Another Vanillaware title, very much more so the traditional Vanillaware experience. And it's still $18, and, well, we're coming up on it being 4 years old. Odin Sphere was a fantastic game, and I remember when it came out on the PlayStation 2, it got a little bit of buzz, but I never thought it would end up being like a PlayStation 2 greatest hits title and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it has this cult following, and it has this attention where if you know Odin Sphere, you probably really dig the game, and Leifthrasir is a really good upgrade to the title. And the thing about Vanillaware, even though Odin Sphere is like, what, a 15-year-old game at this point, I think it came out back in 06, the visuals Vanillaware does, it just holds up so well. Like, you could look at this game, Muramasa the Demon Blade, Dragon's Crown, or 13 Sentinels, even though 13 Sentinels just came out. These games are gonna age really, really well, just because I think from an artistic standpoint, it is so, so good. Music is excellent, and this one has a pretty solid story as well. I think $18 is a little bit steep given at some of the prices of some of the other games, you know, Vesperia being $12.49, Berseria being $9.99, but it's a high-quality title. If you haven't played it, I would give it a recommendation. Check it out. I think you'll end up enjoying it. Next up, now this is a little bit confusing. All the Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel titles are on sale, except for Trails of Cold Steel 1, which figured that one out. Hopefully some of you guys have Trails of Cold Steel 1 and you're looking to pick up Trails of Cold Steel 2. If nothing else, if you want to skip Trails of Cold Steel 1, I wouldn't recommend it, but you want to watch like the cutscenes on YouTube or just catch a story recap, Trails of Cold Steel 2 is where things really, really get going in terms of the story really picking up. Really does pick up at the latter half of Trails of Cold Steel 1. I wouldn't recommend skipping the first game. I think if you play the first game, you're going to have a level of investment into the characters that's just going to make the second game that much more enjoyable, but hey, them's the breaks. Trails of Cold Steel 1 isn't on sale. Cold Steel 2, great game. I really enjoy the franchise as a whole. I've talked about it quite a bit. The physical copies are pretty expensive now for Cold Steel 1 and 2, so digital is really your best bet. You know, with Cold Steel 3 and 4, like, I won't get into spoilers, but, you know, sometimes with these grandiose, epic JRPGs like a Kingdom Hearts, things go a little bit off the rail. I wouldn't say that Trails of Cold Steel 3 or 4 took it to the Kingdom Hearts tier, but I do know that some people were not big on the story of those games. I still liked them, I still had a lot of investment into the characters, but the entire franchise as a whole, I think, is very much worth playing. Hopefully at some point we get Trails in the Sky on PlayStation as well, because I think a lot of people would like somewhere where they can play all the games, and right now that's really only possible on PC. Maybe it's possible on the PlayStation Vita. It might be, yeah, it probably is possible to play a lot of those games on the Vita. But then you got like Cold Steel 3 and 4, which aren't available on the Vita. Really, the best spot where to get all the games, it's on PC right now, but I'm sure some people would like that option on consoles as well. Nevertheless, Cold Steel 2 is $24. I think that's a good buy. I believe Cold Steel 3 is $36, and then Cold Steel 4 is $45. Given the gravitas of the games and how much content you get, they're all really good. Like, I was able to bum rush the first game in under 40 hours, but if you really take your time, and, you know, when I did take my time, it was gonna be like a 60 to 70 hour experience. Even longer than that if you're really trying to do everything. So these are very, very lengthy games. And if you're trying to play all 4 of them in succession at one time, yeah, that's quite the undertaking, and it's gonna take quite a while, but again, that's why they are kind of priced a little bit higher, and I still can recommend them. Next up, we have Disgaea 5 Alliance of Vengeance for $14.99. Now, I will be honest, Disgaea is not my favorite JRPG franchise, but it's definitely one that is very much content-filled, and it's very comedic at times as well. If you want more of a charming JRPG that at times doesn't take itself too seriously, I think you'll get into the Disgaea titles quite a bit. Disgaea 1 Complete is also on sale. That, I believe, is $19.99, so I wanted to recommend this one instead. You could spend a lot of time with these games as well. Obviously, from a visual side of things, nothing to really write home about there, but that's kind of been Disgaea's forte for a long time, having that visual style. For 15 bucks for all the content you're getting, I think it's a solid pickup, so I would give it a recommendation. Lastly, DBZ Kakarot is 60% off for $24. At this point, maybe it would be a better idea to wait on a deeper discount for DBZ Kakarot, but I still think $24 is a decent pickup on this. I really enjoy Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. However, I have said it before and I'll say it again, I would really recommend you to be a fan of Dragon Ball Z before you go into Kakarot, because if you really assess it, fundamentally, as an RPG, it is a lot of mediocre. You know, there's a lot of mediocre content in there, and it's not like the most fleshed out RPG in the world. However, if you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, you can look at a lot of that stuff, put it aside, and still get super into some of the recreation of these iconic moments, because they do a really good job recreating some of these fights, and I was able to get into that quite a bit. And you're talking to somebody that's not the biggest Dragon Ball fan in the world. Like, I only watched bits and pieces of Dragon Ball Super, and even then, like, Dragon Ball Z, even growing up, that wasn't my favorite anime growing up, but I was still a relatively decent fan of it, and I got super into Kakarot, and I enjoyed it for what it was. $24, pretty lengthy game as well. I think it's a good pickup, so I wanted to give that a mention as well. And that's gonna wrap up this one. Again, a lot of great JRPGs on sale. All of these, if you pick any of them up, they're gonna keep you busy for quite a while. Some of them, you know, you could probably beat in 25 to 30 hours, but a lot of these, like a Vesperia, or if you buy like that Kingdom Hearts collection, you can spend a lot of time into them. So that's gonna wrap up this one. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.